Hey guys, another deck profile. Today we have a special guest that actually came up here. If you want to say hi and let us know what you did.
Hey guys, my name's Luke Connelly. I'm the owner of Dragon Rider Games, and special shout out to John for coming out today. We met in the middle of where we live to play in an OTS Store Championship tournament, and I brought Invoked Dogmatika DPE, and I went undefeated in Swiss. In fact, I didn't drop a single game. Unfortunately, lost the first match of Top Cut, got knocked out, but I had a pretty good time today. I feel like my deck performed very well. So thank you, John, for agreeing to do a deck profile video, and thank you also for all your help on Dragon Rider Games.
No problem. Links down below, by the way.
So,
guys
so playing Alistair Unga Bunga. Start out with all those. So 3 copies of Alistair, 3 Meltdown, Terraforming, of course. I'm on 2 Invocation. In this particular build, I'm already at 41 cards. So sometimes if I have, if I have room, I'll put in the 3rd Invo because this gets negated all the time, and it's always nice to have the Invo in hand. But
I've actually seen a lot of people play 1, so it's funny you said 3.
See, I'll side it out very occasionally. Like I sided it out in I think one of my matches today because I just needed the extra space. But it's risky because when your chain gets disrupted, then you have to draw another Alistair. You can't draw into Invocation and use the Alistair that you've already had. So it's very risky. It kind of depends on the situation, but it's kind of my ratios for those. Then, of course, we have the Dogmatika package.
Save the spice for later.
So obviously 2 Nadirs. I was running, even with 3 Nadirs, I was running 3 Ecclesia, 1 Maximus, and 1 Fleur. Ecclesia is, I think, just as good, almost as good as Nadir. It's not quite as good. But basically, in order to get Winda, you want to see a copy of Alistair and a copy of either Nadir or Ecclesia, so I max it out. 1 Fleur, I think, is right. Maximus I'm playing with. In this particular build, I'm only at 1. But again, with Nadir down at 2, I've seen some people online doing maybe like 2 or 3 Maximus and trying to use that as a starter. But that's harder because it requires some setup. So I'm at 3-1-1 and both Nadirs. Next thing I'm working on is I am running. There we go. I'm running 3 copies of Small World. The reason I'm doing that is because Nadir and Fusion Destiny going to 2 took out 2 hard starters from the deck. So, whereas before, like I said, this is Invoked Dogmatika DPE, you have 7 copies of Alistair, you had 6 copies of Ecclesia with Nadirs, you had 3 Fusion Destinies, and you had a whole bunch of other ways to get to that stuff, like, through Verte and Maximus and that kind of thing. But losing 2 of those starters really, really hurt. So I'm testing this out. This is the first major tournament I played with the Small Worlds. It worked out really well for me, but it does require a little bit of deck building. So my hand traps here are running triple Valor, triple Nib, triple Ash, and then 1 copy each, I'll put this up here, 1 copy each of Ogre and Troll. And so my reasoning here is, before the Small World build, I was playing Imperms, but Small World requires monsters, so I swapped those out for Valors. Nib in the main, people sometimes, I think it's good. Honestly, this saved my butt a whole bunch of times today. Sure, with Adventure Braves, if they open Adventures and PK, then the Nib is not going to clear their board. But at least it goes 1-for-1 against their negate. Same with against Sword Soul. If they get the Baron, you can just get rid of the Baron problem. So I like it. When it works, it takes out the whole board, and at worst, it's a 1-for-1. And even if you don't use it, it's a light. So I've sometimes used it for Mechaba. Triple Ash, it's a good target with the different attributes to mix in with the Small Worlds, and also Fusion Destiny is still around. But it's a lower impact hand trap. It's a little bit getting tougher and tougher to justify in the meta game, surprisingly. So 1 Ghost Ogre and 1 Droll. They're not really bricks, but they are required because of the choices that I made to work with Small World. So, for example, Droll and Lockbird. When I run these, any monster in my deck can get to Alistair or Ecclesia through Small World. So, for example, especially these hand traps. So, Effect Valor goes through. Nope, it's not either of those. Effect Valor goes through Ash and gets to Alistair. He has 1800 defense. Effect Valor goes through Nibiru to get to Ecclesia because it's a light and doesn't share anything else, and same with Ecclesia. Ash Blossom goes through Droll and Lock to get to either because it has 0 attack, and then both Ecclesia and Alistair are spellcasters, and it doesn't match anything else. Nibiru goes through Ghost Ogre to get to Alistair, Actually to Ecclesia as well, because it matches 18 defense with Alistair and it matches light with Ecclesia, and again nothing else. So that's why I have just one each of those. I really like Ghost Over in this format. I might maybe take out an Ash and put in a second Ghost Over because it seems to be okay against the Adventure Engine. But just for today, I just have the one just to test it out. So that is the Small World engine. If you can count 11 hand traps as an engine. And the last couple of cards in the deck, these didn't come out. These are obviously part of the Dogma package. One Punishment, one Schism. Punishment, I don't know why I cut it at some point. This card's insane. Obviously, everybody knows about the double pop, but more frequently it comes up where it helps you save your hand. Where if you pitch Titaniclad or one of my Secret Spice cards that I'll show you guys later, you can get your engine going even though maybe you bricked and you just had to set a couple of cards in
Right. Because a lot of time you don't need the double pop. So
right.
Like I even play sometimes 2 with 1 Ecclesia and like Trap Cybers. And if I don't need the double pop, I'll send Titaniclad, and then I can special Ecclesia and get the other copy. So I got a follow-up play.
Exactly. And the nice thing about Titaniclad is that if you send this on obviously on your opponent's turn, and Titaniclad in the grave resolves, you can summon the Ecclesia and then search with Ecclesia to get something else. So if you run Fleur, if you need a Maximus, or like if John said, if you run multiple copies of Punishment in your deck, which I personally don't, in this one, you can get the body and you can also search for another card. So that stuff is pretty good. I definitely would recommend holding that in. So Fusion Destiny package, those 2, and then these other 2 bricks. I did a quick survey today. I originally thought that everyone draws Dasher, not Celestial, but that seems to only be by me. Everyone in Green Bay draws Celestial, not Dasher. So, go figure. Last couple of cards. This is one of the best cards in the game. I think this is the best card in the game right now. Triple Prosperity. Almost always go for 3, but there are some games where I dig for 6, especially if you're digging for like a specific counter card, something that you sided in. Prosperity is absolutely insane.
Heard that twice today.
And even though Desires was the one that got hit, I feel like Prosperity is on the way because this card's way better than Desires. Final 2 cards. 1 Call by the Grave, just generic, amazing card, and then 1 Duster. This is my 41st card. I put it in because I thought maybe I'll run into some trouble with back row or decks, Eldritch or Striker or something else, and sure enough, it helped me out a lot today. So very glad that I kept that one in as the 41st card. So moving on to the extra deck, pretty standard here. You got Almirage, Secret Gardna for when you normal summon your Alistair. You do need to run Almirage and Gardna instead of the new Moon Maiden card because when you link off Alistair into this and then into this, you have a monster in the graveyard for Maximus. So that's important in this deck. Vertanaconda, of course, because Fusion Destiny is amazing. My Invoked lineup is Mechaba, Trio, Raijin, and Ogoliath. So these 3 are pretty standard. The reason I run Raijin is specifically for Flunderies. This deck has a pretty bad matchup against it, or maybe I just don't know how to beat it. But when they put the wind statue out, a lot of the times you can just make Raijin pretty much for free, and when you start to flip their cards face down and then removing them from the field, they go to the grave instead of getting banished face up. So this card has been super, super clutch against Flunderies. Didn't play any today, but I played 1, but I didn't need to use it, but I keep it in because every time I take it out, I regret it. So definitely want to be running that. Shaddoll package, 1 Op Clone, 1 Winda, and 1 Construct. So Op Clone, obviously you send off a Maximus or off a Nadir to search for Schism. 1 Winda because Winda's a regular card. 1 Construct. Sometimes I've run in the past 2 Winda, and again, every time I take out Construct, I regret it because the second effect of Schism, where after you summon a monster, you can send a monster on both fields, on your opponent's field that matches the attribute of what you summoned, comes in really clutch, especially versus Eldritch. Because you can just send their Golden Boy to the grave and then it's just gone, even if it's protected. So Construct also helps out when I have my deck sided in, and I'll show you that a little bit later. Come on. Cards that you want to send with Maximus or Nadir, Entis, obviously. Titaniclad, everybody knows about that one. Omega is insane. The card outs DPE. I make this almost every single match. It outs DPE. It takes out PK pieces. What I like to do with DPE is that after they have activated it's been destroyed, they activate it to summon next turn, then I get my Omega in the grave and I shuffle back the DP in the Omega, because then they're forced to still summon something on their next turn, and it turns off their Celestial as well. So they'll summon the Dasher back, and they have to somehow get it back in the grave before they can, follow up. And usually by then I have a pretty controlling board. So Omega is OP. Also, it's not once per turn. So if it's in your grave and you shuffle it back, and then you Nadir or Maximus again, you can do it again. And always takes people by surprise because it's an old Yu-Gi-Oh card, DPE of course. And then my Secret Spice is for the planet Chimera Refusia, also something I'm testing out. Extra deck space is pretty precious here, but I do like this. What this card does is I'll read it. It's like
to get your destiny.
Yeah, during the next standby phase after this card was sent to the grave, you can add one polymerization spell card or a fusion spell card from your deck to your hand. So it's also a dark. So what you'll do a lot with Maximus is you'll send Opcalone and Titan to get Schism, and then you get your search at the end of the turn. But equivalent, and then you can use these both to make Winda because it's a dark. Equivalently, you can choose to do Rafflesia and Opcalone, get a Fusion Destiny on your opponent's standby phase for your next turn, and still have your Schism lock. Honestly, I like to run both because which one you do kind of varies by the specific game state.
Also fusion for the invoked, I can never pronounce the name. The Agadi.
Oh, Algoids, yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
That one.
So, yeah, very, very good card. And this has honestly saved me a lot because a lot of the times if if all you're ending on is maybe a Makaba, you didn't get access to your Winda engine, it's... Oh, actually, I'm sorry, I misspoke. Usually you have access to Winda when this is hitting the grave because you have Maximus. So you have a Winda to protect you from them going off, and then you have the Fusion Destiny to clinch the game after that. So again, just testing it out. It's performed really well. It's won me a couple of matches today, just because if they wipe your board, then you got the DP as well. So that's the extra deck. So one thing about Small World is that it's really terrible going second. And so what I have here on my side, again, just testing this out today, is 3 Shadal Fusion and then 2 Shadal Bricks. So running more bricks, obviously not so great, even if, because we already got the DP bricks in there. But what I do, when I side out and I know, or I have a pretty good idea that I will be going second, I take out the Small Worlds and those 2 other hand traps that only really exist to make sure that Small World is always live, and I swap it out for these. So it doesn't lower the number of starters I have, but it optimizes what I can do with it. And truthfully, Shadal Fusion is absolutely insane because, everyone knows about searching with Meltdown, and everyone knows the second effect as well, but how it works, when you're able to resolve a Shadal Fusion, when your opponent has something on board from extra deck and you have Meltdown on, it can crack almost any board. You send, Genius and Ariel from deck, you make Opcalone because it just requires 2 Shadals with different attributes, and they can't respond to anything. You can turn off 2 of their monsters. This stops them from activating its monster effect, and you can banish stuff from their graveyard. So today, multiple times I banished DPE engines. In the past, I've banished, like Engage, Multi-Roll, Ray, and it's just like GG for Striker, and they can't do anything. They can't respond to it. So I really, really like this. I feel like anytime I'm going to play Small World, I'm going to also side in the Shadal Fusions because you never, ever want to see this going second. Because usually the point of this is to get you to either Ecclesia or Alistair, whichever you don't have, so you can make the Winda. You can have both and then get to Winda. But going second, Winda is not very good. But going second, break your opponent's board and they can't respond is extremely good. So I'll swap out these for each other. So that's 5 in my extra deck. The rest of it is pretty generic. I got 3 Droplet and 1 Dark Ruler for combo hate. I got 3 Evenly for back row hate. And I have 3 TC Boo because this is extremely free and invoked. Anytime I'm going first, I side it in. It takes out. It makes a lot of decks struggle. It makes PK really, really struggle to find their 2 level 3s. It makes Sky Striker so that they can't continue to cycle through all their link monsters. It just completely shuts down birds because they're all winged beasts. And it's just an overall good card, but I don't have a lot of space in the main with the small deck engine, so, excuse me, the small world engine, so I chose to side for this tournament. So that is all I got. Shout out to Gnome Games. This is my locals from when I was a kid. When I was growing up, I actually grew up in Green Bay, so it's cool to be back here, see some familiar faces. and but most importantly to meet John. So thank you, John, for your
Check out
time. And
Dragon Rider Games link down below.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
congratulations.
Thank you.
and
Thank you so much for your time.